Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy, Mr. Z here. We're going to do a Let's Play today. This Let's Play is for the AP Psychology test. I have not taken the test in this format, so I'm actually going to take it today to see how it plays out and so that you guys can get some good tips on how to do it. So, let's play AP Psychology test. The real one is May 19th at 1 p.m. Think of it as a limited time game event. Your grand prize is college credit. So you'll have one chance to do this, and you have a limited time to do it. So the checklist. Today, what you need to do is, if you have your GP email, if you have your Galena Park email address still listed on College Board, make sure you go in there and change that to a personal email address. There's an error where your GP email address will not get the uh, information that it needs from the College Board. So that's a big problem if you still have your GP email address in there. So make sure you go in there and change that as soon as you watch this. The day before, you're going to check your internet connection. You're going to bribe or threaten your family to give you a quiet place to work. All you need is an hour. Get together your notes in a way that you can search them easily. So whether that's on your phone, right? You can see that, but that's the note sheets, and I can just scroll through them. Or if it's on a Quizlet stack, or if it is a physical stack of papers, whatever is best for you, go ahead and get those notes together. So the day of, at 12 o'clock, you're going to sit down, you're going to have eaten a good breakfast, you're going to be relaxed, and you're going to check over your notes, make sure you have everything you need. Make sure you can thumb through stuff quickly. Time is going to be the issue here. Given enough time, anybody in an AP class should be able to write a good response, but you're not given enough time. So understand that time is the issue. At 12:15, you're going to log into Zoom, our regular Zoom server, and you're going to check in with me. So you're just going to come in, you're going to say, hey, Mr. Zortman, I'm here. You're going to put your name and your student number in the chat. And I'm going to say, great, good luck, have a great test. Then at 12:30, you're going to log into the College Board website. We don't have those details quite yet. We should have them by the end of next week. You're going to fill out any forms they need you to fill out. You're going to tell them what schools you want to send the information to, and you're going to get ready. So at 1 o'clock, you're going to have your screen up already. You're going to have the prompt ready, and then at 1 o'clock, it's going to drop, and everybody will get the prompt at the same time, and you'll get started on it. So question one is 8 tasks long. And it is 25 minutes to answer. Question one ends at 1:25, and then you're going to have 5 minutes to upload your answer. So if you're doing it by hand, I don't recommend it, but if you are writing it by hand, you would take a picture of it and upload it. If you are doing it online, you would just submit it. So it'd be easier there, and then you'd have a couple of minutes to breathe before question two starts. So question two at 1:30 is going to start. There's going to be 6 tasks. So the way I imagine it would be that after you hit submit, the window will close, another window will open up for question two, and then it will just stay there until the time happens, and then everybody's going to get it at once, like question one. Question two ends, and you get 5 minutes to upload your answer, 15 minutes after it starts, so not a lot of time. After you're done with both of them, log back into Zoom, say, hey, Mr. Zortman, I did my test. Everything went great, and that's what I want to hear. Now, if you did have tech problems, if your computer went down or your power went out in your house, something always can happen. You're going to let me know about that so that you're also going to report it to the college board, but you're going to let me know about it so that I can help you through it. We can't talk about any specific questions for a few days. So even if you're saying, oh, is this the right answer? I can't answer that on the day, but I will answer them as soon as I'm able. And at 2:30, your special event is ended. It's done. You either got college credit for it or you don't. Um, and that's all there is to it. All right. So you will not get your score at this point. Your scores will not come out until the middle of July, but you'll be done with what you can control. All right. So let us pick a old AP exam to try and do. So I'm going to try and do this in the time constraints. I'm going to try and talk through all of my answers and see what we can come up with. So random number between 7 and 19, saying it, we're doing a question between 2007 and 2019. And it's 2019. So 2019 question. 2019 actually has two questions. We've been over one of them already in practice, so we will do question 1. So I'm going to try not to look at this as I copy it and paste it. So for you, you'd be sitting on the web portal and it would say test is going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then your timer will begin. All right, so this did not format exactly as I would have liked it, but that's okay. Okay. So this is last year's question. Some of you guys have seen this on a Saturday tutorial. Most of you have not. All right, so just took a couple seconds there to get that going. All right, checking to make sure my timer's still running. And the psychologist conducted a study in her home, an annual activity, children wearing masks, going door to door, receiving candy. Some children arrive alone while others arrive in groups. Over the course of the night, the psychologist asked half of the children to remove the masks. When they arrived at her door, the remaining half kept their masks on. The psychologist told every child to take one piece of candy. Okay, so this is actually question 2, so I'm going to change the timer. Take off a little bit of time and go back to it. All right. So the psychologist measured the percentage of children who took additional candy. Psychologist hypotheses were that children would take more candy when they were alone. Children would take more candy when they were masked. The results shown in the graph below. The graph did not transfer, but it's right here. If you want to screen cap that. All right. And then assume all differences are significant. Okay. So we've got that there. Okay, so we're going to answer the questions. A, identify the operational definition of the dependent variable in the study. We have done this ad nauseum. So operational definition is the numbers, and the dependent variable is what they measured. So what did they measure in the study? So the scientist measured the percentage of kids that took extra candy. All right. So the scientist measured the percentage of kids that took extra candy. She also measured something else, but this is what you need for the answer. She also measured whether they were alone or in a group. Okay. So percentage, that's operational. Kids that took extra candy, that's what we're measuring, the dependent variable in the study. All right, so B, explain how the data supports or does not support each of her hypotheses. So we need to know what our hypotheses are. So hypothesis 1, the children will take more candy when they are alone. So then we look at our data. Kids that were alone actually took less candy. So all right, explain why the psychologist cannot generalize her finding to all children. So she's doing this in her neighborhood at her house. So why can't she say all kids are like this? Um, uh, all right, so she can't generalize to all children because her sample is only children that trick or treat in her neighborhood. She can't say that children in India are going to do this the same way and children in Pakistan are going to do this the same way. Because she doesn't know. She only knows what she tested. She only tested kids in her neighborhood. So explain why the study is not naturalistic observation. Okay, so the study is not naturalistic observation because she changes a variable and makes some kids remove the masks. That makes it an experiment. And experiments by their definition are not naturalistic. All right. All right. So E. Explain how each of the following might have played a role in the child's behavior. Modeling. Okay, so modeling. If you saw somebody take extra candy and get away with it, it's a higher likelihood that you would try and take the extra candy as well. All right. De-individuation. Let's check the timer. 6 minutes. We're still okay. So de-individuation. Anonymity. Can't spell. All right. So it's made stronger by anonymity. That doesn't score yet, though. Okay, so de-individuation is when someone loses their identity and goes with the group. It's made stronger uh, by anonymity, by not knowing who they are. So kids who wore masks and were in groups were more likely to take extra candy. And so pre-conventional stage states that young children do things because they're either seeking a reward or trying to avoid a punishment. Okay, so we have a reward here, candy, right? So because young children would be more likely to take extra candy, even if it's against the rules, so long as they can get away with it. All right, so A, B, C, D, E, timer. 2 minutes. All right, go back, take a look. Do. Explain how the data support or do not support each of the psychologist hypotheses. Oh, heck. We didn't do hypothesis 2. Maybe I did that on purpose. So remember, if you got extra time, even if it's a minute or two, always go back and take a look. Okay, so the ones that removed their masks took less candy than the ones that kept their masks on. All right, so explain this. Why a psychologist cannot generalize. Got it. Explain why the student is not study is not naturalistic observation. Got it. Modeling, demotivation, and pre-conventional stage. All right, timer 1 minute. Go back, double check my spelling, double check my grammar. Make sure that I'm writing these in sentences. And we will call that time with exactly 1 minute left. All right, so here's the thing. As most of you guys know, I know my stuff. I've been doing this for many years. You guys have been doing this for 1 year. So that was a tight time crunch for me, which means that it's going to be a very tight time crunch for you. So understand that even though you can look stuff up, you're not going to have all day to sit there and look stuff up. The other thing that I want to point out with this is that if you are answering these questions, it's better to answer a question right than 2 of them half right. So if you can only get to D and you don't get these last 3 points, it's better that you get these 4 right than to kind of half do the extra ones. So those are 2 points I want to get at right there. And we're going to go ahead and look at a question 1 type question. So let me set the timer. 25 minutes. Yeah, you wish. 2 hours and 50 minutes. All right. So once again, 2019 question. All right. So they are going to have in the question 1 type question a scenario, and then in the scenario they're going to give you a bunch of words that you're going to apply to the scenario. Remember, do define the words, but don't only define the words. Define them and then apply them to the scenario. So let's go ahead and we're sitting around. We've uploaded. We've got a drink of water. We've looked at our notes. We flipped over to the note sheet that's for our other stuff. The first note sheet obviously would be the note sheets for the research and methods. Now we're looking at the other stuff. And then we go ahead and hit start on my timer and paste and see what we got. All right. All right. As a senior in high school, yeah, that's not right. Episodic memory. Ludi worked as an assistant in a children's library in his town library. He enjoyed shelving books in the library because he was able to work alone and focus on the tasks. Although the library was normally a quiet place, sometimes the children's section became quite noisy when groups of children visited. After working in an unfulfilling job for 30 years, Ludi recalls how much he enjoyed working at the library and decides to go back to work as a volunteer, creating new programs for disadvantaged children. Describe how each of the following concepts relates to Ludi's return. All right. Okay, so crystallized intelligence is when people, as they age, so when people age, they go from fluid intelligence, lots of new ideas and new ways to think about things, to crystallized intelligence, or facts, figures, and procedures. So, okay, Ludi may have more crystallized intelligence and be able to recall more facts, but may be less able to deal with new situations. So, there we go. Point. Okay, this is one of the ones that people stumbled on. This is one of the ones that you're going to be able to look up in your notes, look up in your book. You're going to have to do that fairly quickly. So if I'm over here, I'm going to pretend to look it up. All right. So altruism. What is altruism? All right. So altruism is doing something because it is good for society or somebody else without expecting a reward. All right, so Ludi is altruistic because he's working at the library without pay, and he's starting new programs for disadvantaged children. All right, so we go back up here. he goes back to volunteer and create new programs for disadvantaged children. So tying it right back in. So extroversion is somebody who gets energy from being around a lot of people, uh, being in the mix. Um, but when we read Ludi's story up here, all right, so we may be reading some of this into this, and that's okay. Um, so long as you're doing something that is logically consistent with the story, you're good to go. So Ludi seems to be more introverted than extroverted because he enjoys working alone. Where was I getting that? He enjoyed shelving the books in the library because he was able to work alone, right? And focus on his tasks. It says, although the library was normally a quiet place, some children's section became noisy when groups of children visited. Um, the way that that's worded, he seems to get annoyed when the place gets loud, so that would point to him not being extroverted. It would point to him being introverted. All right, parts of the brain. So Broca's area is in the temporal lobe of the brain. If it's a physical thing, try and say where it is. So it's in the temporal lobe of the brain. Come on. So it controls the muscle movement of the mouth so that you can make language. Um, it coordinates all of the things like breath control and lip and tongue placement and vocal cords tightening and loosening. So it controls the muscle movements of the mouth so that you can make language. All right, so without a Broca's area or with a damaged one, Ludi would not be able to communicate verbally, making it harder to help people. Doesn't really say him or her, so people usually gender them their own gender. Self-efficacy. All right. Self-efficacy. I do know what this is, but for the point of this, we're going to go ahead and say, okay, I don't know what this is, so we are just going to go So episodic memory is when you look back in far back into your memory, like he's looking back 30 years. You view things as a whole experiences and remember only parts of the story. Kind of like an episode of TV. They're only showing you the parts that drive the story forward. So all right. So at any job, there are things that you like to do and things that you don't like to do. Um, so whenever Ludi's looking back at his time, he's looking back and he's saying, okay, that was a great time in my life. So I remember shelving the books. I remember that everybody was friendly. I remember when this happened, and I remembered when that happened. Um, but he might be disappointed by things he didn't remember, like cleaning the bathroom, right? So he may have just blocked that out because he uh, didn't like it and he just did it, and uh, it's not something that you necessarily remember. All right, so self-actualization is a humanistic term for being the best that you can be. Ludi is trying to be the best version of himself by helping others and doing things that he thinks will make him happy rather than staying in an unfulfilling job. Remember back to the story? Um, After working an unfulfilling desk job for 30 years, He's trying to make himself happy. He's trying to do things better for society. That's the crux of self-actualization here. So check our timer. We got 9 minutes left. Okay. All right. So self-efficacy. Just realized you couldn't see the phone there. Search my Quizlet for self-efficacy. All right, so the book definition is self-efficacy is, according to psychologist Albert Bandura, who originally proposed the concept, a personal judgment of how one can execute a course of action required to deal with a prospective situation. Psychologists have studied self-efficacy from several perspectives. Okay, so what do I need to know from that? So, uh, first of all, I am not going to type this. This will get me nailed for cheating. So, what I'm going to say is self-efficacy So, self-efficacy is the self-judgment of how well somebody thinks they will do at a task. Um, all right, so self-efficacy can help us out in a couple of ways. Self-efficacy is a self-judgment of how well one thinks they'll do at a task. This can help Ludi because he remembers previously liking the job, which means he probably did well. If he thinks that he'll do well in the job, he's more likely to do well. So this is sometimes called the power of positive thinking, um, or self-fulfilling prophecies. But basically, this is you thinking that you're going to do well, and that's going to lead to you doing better. Not always. It won't always guarantee. If you didn't study for the AP test and you went in and took it blind, you might not be able to do it in the amount of time that you have. So that can be a problem there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the timer. We got 5 minutes left. Let's take a look at the question again. So crystallized intelligence, we've got altruism, we've got extroversion, we've got Broca's area, we've got self-efficacy, we've got episodic memory, we've got, and self-actualization, we've got. So, guys, that's how you do it. That's the Let's Play. That was me doing this in real time, real life. I will go ahead and do a couple more of these so that you guys have the information. Thank you so much for watching. And what do they say on YouTube? Like and subscribe and share and something. Uh, sorry, I'm looking to the end button here. All right. Miss you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.